Hey, what's up everyone? If you're in need of some tips and tricks to help you get started on your Horde base, then I've got just the video for you. I'm about to teach you just about everything that I know about Horde base design and how to optimize your Horde base. There are some timestamps below if you'd like to skip ahead or reference back in the future, but otherwise, let's begin. Before we get into it, there are 3 primary game mechanics that you must understand in order to develop the intuition needed to design and maintain a Horde base design into the late game. The first is zombie pathing. If you build a base or occupy a building and you're on the ground level, the zombies will simply move to you using the path of least resistance. They will prefer to break through the weakest block, for example, breaking through the concrete bars here on the right instead of the steel bars here on the left. They'll also take preference for breaking down doors, even if the door is stronger than the blocks, but only within reason. As you can see here, the door is 21,000 hit points. The 2 blocks that are blocking their way on the left out of concrete are a total of 10,000 hit points, 5,000 hit points each, and yet they are still preferring to go to the door. But if you're not on the same level as the zombies, and you're either above or below them, they'll take the easiest route for them to ascend or descend to your level. If there's no viable path, then they'll either tunnel down to your level, or if you're above them, they'll start targeting the structures that are supporting the block that you're currently standing on. We'll get into how these mechanics apply to horde fighting in a little bit. The second major concept is structural stability and the bedrock connection. Bedrock is the deepest part of the play area. It's an invincible block layer and the origin of structural stability. You'll hear veteran players talk about connecting the base to bedrock a lot. This doesn't mean that the blocks or components of your base need to literally touch bedrock. It just means that there needs to be an uninterrupted line of blocks, clay, stone, or any other type of material underneath your support structures. There's an option to visualize structural stability in developer mode. The blocks in green are fully supported with bedrock connection. Everything else in yellow and shades of red and orange are borrowing horizontal stability from the pillars that are still connected to bedrock. Break these, and the base becomes progressively weaker until an eventual collapse. The final need-to-know game mechanic is Zombie Destroy Area or Rage Mode. In the game files, there is code dictating that zombies have a chance to enter Rage Mode when falling from certain distances. What this means is that if you have an elevated base, a percentage of the zombies that fall down trying to get to you will start gnawing on your base. We'll discuss how to manage this later on. In order to have long-lasting success with your Horde base, you need to plan ahead. A base must be able to withstand the 5 primary Horde Night threats. Of course, you need to be able to defend against regular zombies, and it's more sustainable if you can use your melee weapons as your primary defense, so that you can stockpile your ammo for the late game when the radiated zombies start showing up. Next, you'll start seeing birds. They have a higher probability to inflict a critical injury like deep lacerations and broken bones, so keeping them out or killing them off is important. You'll then start seeing spider zombies, who can sometimes leap more than 10 blocks in height, followed by cops who spit acid at you from a long distance. A general rule of thumb is that if you can see them, they can see you, and if they can see you, they'll spit, even if you're behind bulletproof glass. And last of all, at game stage 147 and above, you'll start seeing demolition zombies. They're armored, have high hit points, and do high block damage, and will detonate a bomb with a blast radius of 5 blocks if you hit them in the top right corner of their chest where the button is located. So in my opinion, horde bases fall into 5 broad categories. Turtle bases, in which the player fights on ground level. This is a dangerous position as you can be attacked from all directions unless you put careful planning into fortifying 3 sides in an effort to funnel the zombies to one side. The tower base, which is essentially a turtle base on stilts. Because zombies cannot get to your elevation, your supports become the target, and you will not have the capacity to use melee. The hybrid base is an elevated base that gives zombies a path up to you. This gives you superior funneling ability and melee fighting ability, but zombies falling off the pathway can induce rage mode, and disruption of the path can revert this base design back to a tower base. Bunker bases are situated underground. Inherently dangerous, these bases offer little that the previous base designs don't, and require extra work to complete. But when refined, a base at bedrock can not only be fun, but also be incredibly effective. Finally, AFK bases or cheese bases exploit the limitations of zombie AI and generally trick them into making endless loops in an effort to attack you. You've probably seen the classic AFK Horde Base video by Not A Gamer Gaming, or the Killing Corridor video by Joe Woodle, and if you haven't, have you been living under a rock or something? Geez, go watch some more YouTube. Anyway, most players split their time between a home base or crafting base and a dedicated horde base. Many players will also take the first few weeks in-game to stockpile resources, fighting the relatively soft early game hordes in some pre-existing building like a barn before constructing a long-term base later on. So hopefully at this point you have an idea of what you want to build, so let's get into some specific design elements to make your base more efficient. A good horde base will utilize many of these strategies simultaneously. Any two blocks can be stacked on top of each other and be considered structurally stable. Knowing this, you can increase the stability of your base or even create levitating structures. Pillars made out of sheets or cube 5-meter dome middle 6 shapes can confuse zombies and make it more difficult for them to collapse your base. If you're interested in more about base flotation, check out these two videos here from Primate and Laney from Nerdlick Gaming, who made some bases using levitation. Links below. This is where the action takes place. A minimum of 2 blocks should separate you from the zombies. There are many ways to do this, but having blocks that you can shoot through and repair through seem to be ideal. The larger your opening, the more visibility you have, but the more visible you are to the zombies. And zombies can smush through even less than 1-meter gaps, so be careful with your shape selection. Hatches give you the most durability for a 1-block space, with the level 3 vault hatch having 21,000 hit points, more than double a steel block. More than one fighting position gives you a backup plan in case there is a breach. You can focus on linear fallback positions or alternate zombie traffic with trapdoors or hatches. This is possible with manual doors, but the ultimate setup is having horizontally placed powered vault hatches or doors. Set these up on switches for fast regulation of zombie traffic, but pay attention to the orientation if using doors, as zombies can path on the frame of the door in this orientation, but not in this orientation. Some blocks have very interesting characteristics that are favorable to fighting positions. The railing block allows for good line of sight, can be shot through, and you can use tools through it like a nail gun or a wire tool. This is in stark contrast to the bars, which you cannot repair or use tools through. Interestingly, the baluster corner block doesn't block projectiles at all. Just note that if your bullets can go through a block without any problems, so can zombie projectiles. So make sure you do some testing and choose the right block that suits your needs. For more information on block characteristics, I highly recommend this video by Wayward Echo detailing what blocks can be shot through, worked through, and what blocks light can shine through, which has implications when building an indoor garden. Link in the description. Pits are an excellent way to contain falling zombies, since many of those that fall in will enter rage mode or explode in the case of cops and demos. Pits should be designed in such a way that even if damage is sustained to the floor, walls, or egress route, the overall function and stability of the base is maintained. Rage mode is a pretty frustrating concept to wrap your mind around, and I won't pretend to have it all figured out. I'll link a video from Liz from More to Me for Life, who did some testing and experiments on rage mode, but the prevailing concept is that if a zombie takes damage, rage mode is deactivated. But it's probably more complex than that. Blade traps, electric fences, and even sledge turrets can deactivate rage mode, but zombies can then re-enter rage mode again after the hit. The most reliable way I've seen is to put a pool of water at the base of the pit. Since they no longer stumble or ragdoll, this seems to be the best way to avoid rage mode altogether. If you need help filling up a pool, Echo has another nice short video on how to get that done. Check out the description if you'd like to know more. A good complementary piece to a pit is a grenade chute. The simplest way of doing this is orienting ramps in the floor of your fighting position in such a way that you can slip explosives through the opening. A quick shutter door or hatch at the top and you can avoid falling through or return fire from below. If you're using a hybrid design, you'll need to have a sturdy way to get up. Most people will use a pyramid step design at the bottom to help prevent zombies from getting stuck on the sides and destroying the steps, but any type of block that disrupts them from approaching the ramp from the side will do. You can regulate the zombie flow rate by setting up some obstacles. Barbed wire slows down zombies but won't last very long. Forcing the zombies to jump will cause a bottleneck, and their clumsiness often results in them falling down. You can take this to the extreme to make some highly effective AFK-based designs. If you're having trouble with crawling zombies behind a hatch, try replacing the hatch with some type of bar or railing. Then invert the hatch on the top so that you can target crawlers while still easily moving through the position. Defense against the birds can take several forms. Only the area directly above your head needs to be defended, as birds will take a vertical approach to you. Spikes work well in the early game, and a junk turret can provide additional support, but in the later stages, blade traps or SMG turrets reign supreme. Even hundreds of birds cannot disrupt this sort of trap defense. As blast damage becomes more and more of an issue at later game stages, you might need additional defense. It's worth knowing that you can use any block to add the block behind it from an explosion. Here are a variety of shapes, and even though you can see or even shoot through them, they effectively guard the wall behind from any explosion damage. This can help provide an aesthetic touch to your base while also improving durability. Zombies start taking fall damage at about 10 blocks high, and it works as a percentage of their maximum health. They can, at most, take about 30% of their health from a single fall, and that caps out around the 50 block height range. We've already discussed rage mode, and since it's so hard to avoid, you might as well make them pay for it first. There's a video linked in the description by Cautious Pancake discussing all of the science behind zombie fall damage, and I highly recommend that you give it a watch. Zombie fall damage is one of the core benefits from using a Bedrock base. I've already made a dedicated video, which I'll link right here, regarding how to build and why you should try a Bedrock base. But in a nutshell, you benefit from zombie fall damage, and you have an indestructible floor to work with. It's a high-risk design with the potential for high reward. Just checking on some of the zombies that fell down here, and you can see that all of them have taken variable amounts of damage. Auto turrets used to set off demolition zombies, but allow this experiment here to put your mind at ease. As of Alpha 20, these turrets will no longer set off the charge on demos, but the same cannot be said about cops, who will still explode when running low on health. Junk turrets, on the other hand, are still a huge liability. Electric fences can be a great way to stun lock zombies and set them up for some headshots. Just know that zombies will push through them eventually, and also remember that the receiving fence post is the one that takes the damage. So having access to it for repairs is necessary if you're going to rely heavily on this trap throughout the night. Another best practice is to wire each post from the power source individually, instead of daisy chaining as you see here on the last pair. That way, if you lose a post, the entire chain is not disrupted. Blade traps are among the best traps to use, particularly in the mid-game range, but the best place to put them is not down in your pit. Ideally, you want them in a place where they can be repaired. One blade trap that you can maintain throughout the night will do more damage than 10 blade traps that you cannot maintain. Wood spikes and iron spikes are effective at thinning out the horde. Placing them around critical support structures, in your pit, or anywhere else for that matter can help carry you through the horde at any stage. The two main reasons not to use them are that they are time intensive to make and place and resource intensive to produce, and they don't give you any XP for the kills. My final tip regarding traps are some of the ways that you can set up dart traps. I have 4 examples for you here. The first one is a trigger plate activating a dart trap which faces the zombies directly here at this position. You can easily decide when to use the trap and for how long, but you can't directly face the zombies while it's active. Then we have a switch controlling a distant dart trap that shoots zombies in the back of the legs. Again, you can control when to use this, and you can face the horde while it's in use. Note that darts will never damage a block, hatch, or opposing dart trap. The third setup is with a motion sensor and a dart trap flanking the fighting area. Motion sensors can be a great trigger, but in this orientation, it's not ideal. The final one is a vertical facing dart trap on a tripwire. In this configuration, the trap is only active when there is a zombie there, and there is no risk of harm to the player. Altogether, these 4 dart traps make mincemeat of even the toughest zombies, and are a fine, albeit resource-intensive, addition to your horde base. An honorable mention here, not necessary for horde base, but for base building in general, would be using powered garage doors and automated drawbridges, which can allow you to make some amazing entrances and exits to your garage. They can even be used to control the pathing of zombies, and you can find out more about how to set that stuff up from my friend Wayward Echo, and there's a link to that video and several more down in the description. So let's hop in live to the game, where I'll be walking you through an old horde base that I built, and I'll discuss some of the pros and cons of the design, and we'll put it to the test against a day 7000 horde. Alright, so let's head in here and check things out a little bit. This is an old multiplayer base that I just exported and saved real quick. This was meant to not fight 64 zombies. It was meant to just have some fun on a multiplayer server, and I've made a few modifications to it in order to incorporate some of the things that we've discussed here today in the video. So it looks like we have 2 ramps on each side leading up to a very narrow lane in which the zombies can sort of path up to a fighting position. 2 blade traps here held up by this pipe, and plenty of room here to fight. Now there is a way to hop on in here, no problem. There's a total of 3 blocks. There's a block lane here where you can see the railing in this pipe piece. Then there's the middle lane where there are 2 sets of railings on the front, and then yes, another piece, another set of blocks on the front. We have a little bit of a grenade hatch going through to the bottom where we can throw grenades down or shoot rockets, and there are blade traps down there in the pit. Now I have already mentioned that that's not a great place to put the blade traps. This is a far better place here, and you have these sort of flanking, these wings of the base here you can come over and repair if you need to. These wings here were meant more to have like friends over to give everyone a position with which to shoot at the zombies. This is not some place that I would be hanging out much, especially for a late game horde, because you just would end up getting spit at over here due to the very high visibility. Couple of traps here in the exterior, some shotgun turrets, good lighting. This is the way for the zombies to jump out. This is bad here. This is not something that I would want 64 zombies to be struggling on to get out of here. I would have just, for 64 zombies, insane nightmare difficulty, I would have just put a ramp, something really, really easy for them to get out, because eventually this is just going to all blow up. And I've got this sledge here. He's probably just going to set a demo off. Not the best place to put a sledge. As you've probably seen other people do, a lot of people like to put the sledge up here close to them, and that way they get punched off of the railing. The place you want to do that is have it on the left side. My left right now, so that a demo walking up, remember his button is on the top right of his chest. You don't want the turret to have a high probability of hitting that button, so putting it on the left side is best. Other than that, you've got these spikes here. We talked about how that sort of helps shield these things from explosive damage, so the front face up there should be relatively well protected. These blade traps will probably last all of 30 seconds before they get destroyed by cops blowing up and cop spit and everything like that. And that's another thing. Let me get back inside here. We do have electric fences. These fences are oriented inside the fighting position walls as a last resort, so that if zombies do start crawling through or breaking through, you have something to stun lock them while you scramble to make some repairs. But this is way too high of visibility. You would definitely not want this. This should all just be solid blocks with one little opening right here, like the smallest little window possible, because you just don't want to give cops any avenue for them to see you and spit up at you. But like cops all down there in the pit, all cops on the ramp over there, they're all gonna see you and they're gonna spit at you this whole entire time. But from a YouTuber perspective, I don't like to kind of close in my fighting position. I like it nice and open so that if I'm pulling the camera off, I can get good cinematic shots, that it's not just like a little peephole, you know what I mean? As for up here, we do have some SMG turret coverage in here, just a simple crafting area, storage area up here, mostly just for aesthetics. I don't know what I was doing. I was just having some fun on the multiplayer server. This is by no means an example of the best possible base that you could build. It's just something that I had pre-made that looked nice, that I thought we could talk about some of the pros and cons of. So without further ado, let me port the time to day 7000 and we'll just watch and see what the Horde can do against it. All right, set time, 7000, 22-0, and that should do it. Base friggin' looks good, doesn't it? This is one of the better looking bases I've ever made. Okay, that's a good dart trap set up there. There's a trip wire and it shoots directly down on top of their heads. Okay, I think that cop there is about to blow up, which is probably just gonna wreck everything. Yeah, here he goes. There goes the blade trap lasted like 10 minutes. Okay, yep, the traps are doing plenty of damage. That demo just died. As for the pit, we've already lost one of the blade traps down here. I'm sure we'll lose the other 2 momentarily. This is a great way to cluster up your zombies as they're getting out of the pit. It slows them down. You can throw pipe bombs down there and get a lot of bang for your buck there. But as these zombies start to cluster up and as cops start blowing up and some of these blocks get degraded and destroyed, eventually this is just going to become more of a liability. Zombies will be trapped down here, they'll start tunneling, and overall it'll just be more harm than good for your base. These turrets are very active. If you have extra ammo, especially if you're using an ammo type like that's not shotguns, basically just set up some shotgun turrets, That's a way for you to utilize all of your shotgun ammo, get a little bit of extra XP during the Horde night. Yeah, we've lost this blade trap. I'm surprised it hasn't completely blown up yet. I figure it's basically only a matter of time. Besides, my character, I'm kind of hiding behind the wall here, because otherwise if I stand here, it's just going to be a mess. But I suppose it's worth the demonstration here. All right, I'm going to stand right here in the fighting position and see what happens. Yep, there's a little bit of spit. Not sure where that came from. Yeah, you can see the cops right there. Right as they're coming up the ramp, they get line of sight on me and they start spitting toward me. Whoop, there we go. Lost the other blade trap finally. So this block shape that I use here for the fighting position, other than the railings and stuff, the railings I think are the best block, but this one here is called the scaffolding plank, and it's flipped upside down with the advanced rotation. Oh, thanks, buddy. And what that kind of does for you is it gives you kind of a shelf. This is something I used to like to do a lot if I had a lot of zombies clustered up before I started using the security gate there, and I would have, whoa, look out. I would have way more zombies kind of clustered up here in the front. So if you wanted to use like a pipe piece or a regular block, this might be something you'd want to do. You get a little bit of a shelf and you can just leave a present there for all the zombies. Get some nice head damage with the pipe bombs. Alternatively, you can always just use your hatch here and throw them on down. You see, let's go down there and see what's happening. Yeah, pretty good bang for a buck there on that pipe bomb, but yeah, cop blows up. Having a really hard time getting out of here now. I think it's just a matter of time before they destroy blocks and they have no path out of here, and they're just all gonna hang out down here. But yeah, let's just do like maybe 5 pipe bombs down there and see how much XP we can get. Pipe bombs are cheap, something you can make all day long basically. You can have hundreds of them for Horde night. And look how much XP you're gonna get here. 27,000. Not to mention it's just hilarious watching all those zombies go flying around. Yeah, I haven't seen any birds, so let's get a little bit of a test going on the birds. Let's get 25 vultures and 25 radiated vultures and hope my friggin' computer doesn't melt. Yep, see, they're pathing directly on top of the player. This is just what the birds do. I guess that's how they work. Having no issues here. SMG turrets taking them out very quickly. I suppose some of them are kind of stuck up here on the roof. This is more just a flaw of this particular base. I'm sure they'll come around eventually. So you can see the walkway that I'm using here is a security gate centered, oriented vertically, and a pole piece underneath that. And so basically if the security gate fails, you lose a block. They still have a block that they can kind of walk over in order to continue along the pathway. And additionally, if you shoot at a block like a rail or a security gate, your bullets go straight through it. Your bullets will never have any issue with damaging that block, unlike some other blocks where you shoot them and they will take damage. So I like to use these, in certain situations, I like to use blocks that I can shoot through, especially if I'm making like a backdrop or something that I'm going to be shooting at a lot, so that I don't end up doing damage to it myself. Yeah, that's the problem. Everyone's stuck down there. Okay, at this point, they have definitely knocked out one of the stair blocks, so they just can't get out anymore. In order to just keep a smooth flow for the rest of the video, I'm just gonna make a ladder for them. Ladders are definitely not a bad way to get zombies to do what you want them to do, because they don't really have much of a tendency to swing at and hit ladders the way that they swing at and hit blocks like that. Yeah, good. Now they can just make their way out of here, no problem. Yep, getting much more flow up here. I like this. Oh, about to die. Turn God mode on. Okay, let's slow things down a little bit. I want to see what happens if I hit the demo button. There we go. Okay, back to full speed. And there he goes. Yep, just did some damage to the walkway here. Okay, one more time then. Let's see if he'll make his way over here before he blows up. Here he goes. Yep. Go, we got another one. Yep, got him. Okay, let's see how many of these. Whoop, he went down below. Ah, you see, I did lose some of the bulletproof glass here. Whoop, I'm flying. Ah, I see. Okay, so we just gotta watch our step from now on. Actually, might start becoming an issue. Zombies might not see this as a viable pathway to get to me anymore. In fact, yeah, I think they do still. Ow, ow, ow. See what I mean about having a large window? Definitely don't want that. I'm just gonna hide over here. Ooh, ow, my eyes. All right, let's just conduct some stat repairs right there. Fix that so they'd have a nice clean pathway over to me. Yep, I've just noticed that we've lost power out here to the spotlights and the shotgun turrets. And that's because I had this electrical relay here. I think I had another one like over here somewhere, and this one over here was destroyed. Yeah, if you want to do the powering for the wiring, I would just have gone kind of outward out here and then around somewhere out here where they're not going to sustain any cop explosions and things like that, unlike this area right here, which is just a mess. How are we looking on darts here? Yeah, we're down to about 500, 600 almost. So I think that the dart traps can shoot continuously pretty much all night. It shoots 2 per second is the fire rate on this. All right, so we fast forwarded just a little bit there. They are doing quite a number here. They've knocked out one of the security gates, but like I said before, you get that beam on the bottom of it so that they can still continue their path. We haven't actually lost pathing all the way up to our position here. Here's a view underneath the shelf that we fight at. They've made their way through the first 2 railings and pretty much done a lot of damage to the ones on the sides as well. So then they crawl down in here and they get stun locked on the electric fence. You'd have to maintain that or else it would degrade over time. They still have 1 more layer here, like I said before, 3 block layers to get through before they can get to me. And because it's a railing, I can always start shooting down through at them if I was actually fighting, you know? Yeah, this works pretty well, I'd say. Just having a look here. Yep, they've almost made their way through the shelf and... well, yeah, they're pretty close to degrading that hatch fully as well. They'd still have 1 more hatch to go. Once they break through there and they start standing on this, it doesn't take them very long to beat through the second layer. So let's just step back and let the Horde ride out. It's another 20 minutes left in the Horde and see if they can make their way through. Yep, that's it. It's morning. Let's take care of these guys. That's it. So overall, I would say not too bad. The integrity of the causeway was held throughout the night. The fighting position held up with basically no defense whatsoever. And the traps, although they all basically broke at some point, they are pretty easily replaceable for the next Horde if you wanted to keep doing that. We sustained basically no damage from the birds, even though this is completely open. The whole crafting area is still intact. And apart from cheating a little bit and adding in this ladder, just because everyone would have been stuck down here all night, it's quite as entertaining. The pit held up remarkably well. Now, some zombies wanted to beat their way in here to the electrical room. Not sure why, but, you know, zombies just do zombie things sometimes. Anyway, my friends and fellow survivors, I hope that you found this information helpful and you got some inspiration for your own Horde base design. If you did enjoy the video, make sure that you please leave it a like, and there are more episodes just like this in the works, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, my name is Temricky, and I hope this video has earned your subscription. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.